Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to work on the fuselage forward side panel. Alright, so what you see here on the table, this is the right side forward fuselage side panel, or fuselage forward side panel, I think is how it says it in the instructions. I've gone ahead and connected up the cross member here that we worked on, the F16. You can see where the gear legs here are going to go. You'll be sitting kind of standing up, or sort of sitting down here. Your butt will be kind of down here. I believe this kind of goes down a little bit to where you'll be sitting, so your legs will come up like this and then back down to where the rudder pedals are here, down here. And then the part we're going to be working on is going to be the opposite of this side, so there'll be another side panel on this side of the fuselage, and that's the one we're going to work on the left side. I like it when we have these parts that are mirrored on either side, so that I can work on one first and kind of figure out what it's supposed to look like, and I take some time to look through the instructions, and then typically the other side goes a little bit faster. The same thing happened with my wings, right? Like I built one of the wings first, kind of figured out the process, and then I was able to build the second one much easier and probably better, just because I kind of knew what to look for in terms of nuances and things. Just to kind of give you an idea of how this all sort of fits together, right here is a gear leg, so we're working on a tri-gear, so our main gear is sort of behind the center of gravity of the aircraft, which is going to be right here, kind of coming down. Right here is where our control sticks will connect. I've got one on either side. I've gone ahead and upgraded to the dual control sticks. So that'll kind of come up right between your legs as you're sitting in the seat, one on one side, one on the other. Right here where this hole is, this is where your aileron control tubes are going to come out from the ends of the wings. And that'll be all connected into where our control sticks are right here. This little area down here, this is where our seat belt connects in, so we'll have a little tab that goes inside of that. This obviously isn't drilled out big enough to hold the bolt that's going to be used for the seat belts yet. I did purchase a set of Hooker harnesses seat belts for the aircraft already. I bought them at Sun and Fun last year, not just 2 weeks ago, but in 2024. And they were sitting in my basement waiting for me to get to this point. This is my upper engine mount. So this big hunk of metal here, that's where the top of the engine mount's going to connect. It would come from here kind of down to where the engine would be. Here's the lower engine mount here. So the firewall is going to go right across the front of this. This piano hinge right here, this is how we connect in our cowl. It's going to be attached with a piano hinge, and kind of put the pivot right on through here. This part up here is designed to hold the tops of your rudder pedals. There's going to be a little block that goes in here that will allow it to twist back and forth. And our wing spars are going to slide kind of right into here. We've got the two spars on either wing. One on either wing, I should say. So here's a wing spar. Here's another wing spar, and those two will slide together right into this area right here. And there will be another one of these pieces sort of like this, except it'll be in the front to kind of cover up that whole spar area. Alright, so I'm going to take this all apart and sort of set it aside so we can start working on it. We've got our brand new piece of metal here on the side. I've got all of the other attachments here kind of all lined up. All of this aluminum here are all parts that I've pulled out and set aside in order to build one of these side panels. So the first thing I'm going to work on is going to be this assembly here on the left side of this drawing, SNB F14. And then we're going to make the 01L. We've already made the 01R, and that's on the other part. And the way that this is built is with this sort of machined piece of aluminum angle here. It also has a piano hinge on it, as well as this really thin piece of aluminum angle here. This is already pre-cut where we need it to be. This one here, we can take the time to measure it if we wanted to, but it really just needs to line up with this. And so rather than taking the time to measure it and end up messing it up, I'm actually just going to use this as the template. It's already pre-drilled, it's already pre-cut. We just pretty much have to make this side mimic it. So we're going to use these pilot holes to drill into this, and then we can actually just snip off the ends here at the same size. Alright, and I've already gone ahead and marked where this is going to go. I offset from this notch right here 1/4 of an inch, because this needs to sit, each of those holes needs to sit directly in the middle of these notches here. And that just lines up right there until we find our line that we drew. All right, one thing I want to mention here is that I lined up these knuckles here and drew a line to be able to make sure that it was right in the middle of the knuckle. These holes on the outside here, these end ones on each side, this one and this one, are less than 1 inch between these two, whereas all the other ones are lined up right in the center of the knuckles on the other end here. But the end ones are probably, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch or something like that. So when you go to draw your lines, make sure that you don't line it up halfway through the knuckle on the end there, because then the rest of them won't line up. The majority of these should be lined up directly in the center of the knuckle. It's just the end ones that do not line up. Another thing I need to note here is in the instructions, in the writing it tells you to use a P4 hinge instead of a P3, but the drawing very clearly shows a P3, so I actually did reach out to Sonex to find out exactly which size I was supposed to use, and they said to use a P4, so definitely you want the thicker leaf here on the piano hinge. Alright, so I need to snip off right here where I've drawn this line. I just kind of use this as my template, make sure I did it in the right spot. And then I also have to cut off a couple of these knuckles here, one on this side and 2 down on this side. Just don't need those 2 knuckles for anything, so we're gonna chop those off, and this one over here. I found that the bandsaw works best for that. Just kind of put it in there and make sure it's lined up properly and just kind of snip it right in there. All right, cut off those knuckles. I'm just gonna clean them up with the file here just to make sure that it's nice and smooth and straight there. Alright, so I've gone ahead and laid out all the parts. The only thing that's really clecoed in place right now is this upper longeron here that kind of goes across the length of this. You can see where the upper engine mount will go here. Here's the part we were working on just a minute ago. That's only pre-drilled into the parts that we built, not into the skin. So once we get this lined up the way we want, then we'll go ahead and drill into the skin here on that. Most of these angles here are pre-drilled all the way through, and you might be able to kind of see through that, but not all of the holes are. So for example, where this little gusset here is, these are not, nor is this lower longeron. So what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to go ahead and cleco all these parts together that can be clecoed, and then we're going to flip this over and we're going to drill through the skin into this lower longeron. And it's the skin's already pre-drilled for that part. So we just basically have to line it up, and we'll use some clamps and things to hold that in place while we do that, just to make sure that everything is where we want it to be. Alright, now that I've got this lower longeron drilled out and attached, it's lined up here in the front corner along the whole bottom here, and then lined up back here in the back corner as well. The next thing to do is attach all of these gussets all over the place. I've got lots of them. So for example, this one right here is the seat belt gusset. This hole right here is going to be drilled out later on, and that's where my seat belt will be attached to the outer skin here. So that'll attach right here. You'll notice that there's no holes drilled in the part where it attaches to. That's not a huge deal. So basically what we're going to do is trace a line right where all these holes are, right in the center here, all the way across, and the same thing coming down right here, and it'll make a nice little T right here, 90 degrees. And all we have to do is just line up the line with all the holes here, and that tells us exactly where we want those holes drilled. The more difficult part is getting these gussets here that need to go up and inside of here to line up properly. Let me go ahead and flip this back over again really quick, and I'll show you what I did on the last one. I think I have a pretty good method for doing that. Alright, and so what I'll do is, instead of doing what I just did on the inside of the side panel here, I'm going to do this on the outside. Remember, the upper longeron right now is running this direction, with the slot kind of going this direction where this gusset has to fit up inside of. And so what I'm going to end up doing is tracing a line center point to center point between these two holes, and then trace a line between these two holes up here. Make sure it's square all the way up, and that'll make a T right here, and then I'll know where to line up this gusset exactly where it needs to be, and then I'll drill the holes out once I have this all lined up from the outside, and then I can just simply slide this up on the inside and the holes will already be in place for it. There we go. See that center line right down the middle of the holes there and there, and then I'll just clamp this down and drill it out. Alright, there we go. We have 3 points here, 2 of them in the upper longeron here, and 1 in this vertical support here. And you can see that everything's all lined up still. Eventually we'll put this around on the other side, up underneath, and the holes will be in the right spots, and we can just cleco it from this end, and then up drill when the time comes. One thing you need to make sure you do is mark this and then mark the inside here, because you want those to match up exactly. If you switch this one for the one that goes here, for example, the holes may not line up. So I've been marking on the part here that you won't be able to see, so I'll put a number 1 or an A or something like that to mark that, and then on the inside where that will cover, I'm going to mark it as well, just so that it definitely covers it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. I've got several of those that I need to do. And then I'll flip this over, and we'll attach them with clecos and put it all together here. Alright, now that these are connected into place here, I've got 1 gusset here, 1 gusset over here. The third one that goes up inside the longeron here, it's already pre-drilled. And so what we'll do is just put this up underneath, and it's hard to do this with one hand, but there we go. You can see when hopefully you can see this. When I move this here a little bit, there's holes that line up on the inside. So I'll go ahead and cleco that into place from the outside here, and then we're going to flip the whole thing over and we'll do all the rest from the inside. So here's what that gusset looks like on the inside here. It goes up inside of the longeron. It's clecoed on the other side, and then I've got these 3 holes here that I'll need to drill out. Here's the other ones that I did that are already pre-drilled. So I've got the clecos in on the other side holding it up, and then these holes are already drilled, which I did from the back side. Now we have both our bottom engine mount here and our upper engine mount up here. Okay, here we go. I've got the all the parts assembled here with silver clecos. They've all been center drilled up to 3/32 of an inch. Next up is to go ahead and up drill all these things up to a number 30 or a 1/8 inch hole, so we can start getting ready to rivet the whole thing together. Alright, so I stopped working on this for the night, took a break. I think I had, 6 or 7 or 8 hours of time built into it. And in the shower this morning, I realized that I'd done this second side panel differently than I did the first one. And that was sort of a mistake, I think. I think what I should have done, and what I did the first one, is before I attached all of these other angles and things here, the first thing I did was to line up this lower longeron with just the skin, and I had it flipped over the other side, so basically as it is, just like this, except flipped over, and then this angle here on the longeron was actually kind of hanging over the edge of my table here with the skin on top, and then I clamped it down to the side of the table here to make sure it held into place, and then I drilled down through the holes that were in the skin into the longeron where they needed to go. It ended up coming out just fine. I mean, it definitely lines up and everything the way it should, but it probably would have been a little bit easier to do had I flipped it over and done it the same way the second time. So my suggestion, if you're doing this for the first time, is to do that. To, like I said, put the longeron down, face down, so this part here is kind of flipped over and it kind of hangs over the edge, and then put your skin on top of that, and the skin is pre-drilled, so you'll drill down into the longeron once it's all lined up. But anyway, we're beyond that at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and continue up drilling these cleco holes here and putting in my copper clecos, and then have to deburr everything and put it all together. So this is a good example of why you should always deburr. You can see there's a little tiny gap here between the skin and this vertical angle support here. You can see there's a little tiny bit of a gap there from where, as I was drilling through the upright, the metal kind of swelled down a little bit and pushed the skin away from it. It's okay. Once I pull this all apart and deburr it, I'll deburr that, and then the skin will sit up flush against it again. It's a little unnerving to see it like this. Always a good idea to do your, well, this is why it's necessary to do the deburring. Alright, right below here is where I have one of the gussets. So I've got 3 clecos coming in from the bottom holding it up, and then I have 3 that go across here as well. So I'm going to try and keep as many clecos in as possible to make sure that it doesn't move at all while I'm drilling. So I should probably mention all of these nuts that I've put on here were old ones that I used for other parts to hold some things together. I will replace these nuts when I do the final assembly on this part. Here's just another one that I pulled out of my stash of used ones here. Alright, now it's time to go ahead and pull out all these clecos and the machine screws that are holding everything in place and deburr everything. Give it a little spritz of primer and reassemble everything. Alright, here we go. All the holes are drilled, up drilled. They've all been deburred, primed, clecoed. Last step is just to go through here and just go ahead and pull rivets in this guy. Did have a little bit of issue after I primed the these gussets that are down in here. It was hard to see what the letters were on them that I labeled them with, so I had to A couple of them you can still see through. I don't know if you can see this on this one at all, but it just barely, you can see B through that. This one painted over the top. This one you can just barely see C through it. And so I was able to decide which ones went where based on those three that I could actually see through a little bit, and then the rest of them are kind of different sizes. So anyway, it all fit really well. Alright, so I'm back at it today. Took a break last night, and I noticed that there's something I forgot to do. There's a couple of holes here on this forward half of this that I haven't drilled into the skin and into this vertical angle here. I need to drill 2 holes into that based on the drawings here. You'll also notice here on the drawings that not every one of these holes actually receives a rivet at this point in the build. So all of these right here that have the little sort of plus sign with a circle in it, those are all holes that are actually filled with rivets. But many of them, like this entire top longeron here, is just a little plus sign without the circle designation. So we're just leaving those with clecos in them for now. So what I've been doing is filling all the holes where I don't want to put a rivet with a cleco to make sure that I don't actually put one in place. So this is the area where I have to drill those 2 holes. I'm just going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'm going to have to pull all this apart again to deburr. So that's kind of a pain. I've probably got, you know, half an hour into putting clecos into place, or more, probably closer to an hour now. So I'm going to have to pull all these back out, deburr, put a little spritz of paint on there again, and then reassemble everything again. So that's pretty frustrating, but that's what happens sometimes if you don't pay attention. Alright, there you have it. That is one fuselage forward side panel. Next I'll go ahead and build a rear fuselage side panel, and I'll do that one off camera, so I figure out how to do it first, and then I will build the second one on camera. So it might be a little bit before you see another video for me on the Sonex build. And as you can see down here, I'm able to stuff my side panels just down inside this little box here underneath my table to get it out of the way so I can have a build surface to build on. Obviously this needs to be cleaned up a little bit, a little messy here to start working on the next part, but that'll be cleaned up before the next video. Well, as always, thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit, and we'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.